Alright, I think that should be good. I'm just checking everything. It should be up in just a sec to where I can watch it. There we go. Now that is up, but I need to be on the live control room. Okay. That is up. Let's see. Alright, we're good. Set the mic down. Not hearing any audio coming from the headset, which is a good thing. I will get started in just a second. Okay. Alright, that should be good. I think we're all set. Move some of the stuff out of the way. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and say what I've done off camera. I have completely reshimmed the gun. I have already set up the new wiring harness in the gun and soldered on our new motor connectors. And that is pretty much it. I have greased up a couple parts. Oh, I did take a tooth off of the sector gear because the piston has one less tooth than the old piston. So it's a short-stroked piston, meaning it'll fire a lot faster than normal. We are making up for that FPS loss with the bore-up kit, the garter bore-up kit with a bore-up cylinder and everything, and an M120 spring. And what's going to be powering this out of the upgrade is the Lonex A1 medium-type motor. And I've already worked on angle of engagement a little bit. I wasn't able to get it absolutely perfect with the size Zorbothane pad that I had, but it is good enough to where it'll easily work very well. And put the piston head on the new Angel Custom Thor aluminum piston. And so now it's just a matter of pretty much putting everything back together. So, and I've already worked on a couple things other than that, but they're not extremely important. So first things first, we need to put the screw back in the motor cage, and if I remember correctly, that was right. I'm a little bit off center of the camera, so I'll try and center it back up. I tried to center everything, but sometimes it just doesn't work as well. And I'm going to open this because I'm quite hungry, just so I can snack while I work, which is what I normally do. Right now, the only person that is able to watch this live stream is Jacob, the owner of the gun. This video will be posted as a separate video for all to watch. That is a good Slim Jim, nice and fresh. tiny little screw. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. That ought to fit pretty well. Sorry if my head covers up part of the camera. I'm just trying to make sure it's going in properly. Ah. Fine. I'm just missing the hole. There we go. Not all the way in just yet. There we go. And that freely moves. So I'm going to go ahead and put, that is for, this is the tappet spring. I need the other little spring, and I believe it's in another little baggie that I put all the parts in. No, that is body pins and selector gear stuff. Where did I, wait. There's two of these springs. That is definitely the tappet, so I guess version 3 has a bigger one of these, so that's alright. Just gonna stick that on. Actually, it needs to go on this little bar first. There we go. And then we can attach it. Use a flathead. Where's my flathead? There it is. And there we go. It is now attached. That now springs just like it's supposed to. Connects very well with the trigger contacts. It's going to have a slightly long trigger pull, but shouldn't be too bad. It can always be adjusted fairly easy with a, well, I don't know if a SIG can have a speed trigger. But there are ways to work on things like that. Putting in spacers in certain places and everything. Hopefully the audio is coming through pretty clear. I'm trying to speak up. But basically, we have the wiring in. Now, I normally put gears in last. I'll normally at least put the cylinder and everything in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Put the tappet plate on it. I'm pretty sure that's in there the way it's supposed to be. It seems like it's bunching on something. There it went. Much better. Now we can press the cylinder into place. The cylinder got a little rotated, so I'm just going to rotate that back into its proper place. Make sure the tappet plate is setting correctly, which it is not. catching it is what I want to know. Oh. The tappet plate spring is upside down. Or not the tappet plate spring, this little spring right here that we just put back on. Just gonna take that off, flip it around. Yeah, it's supposed to sit lower than what it was so it could fit into the tappet plate a little better. Now that is on properly, so we're going to try it again. I tried to polish everything pretty well. And now, just to get it... Oh, that screw that I used is not the right kind of screw for this. I wonder, I don't even know if this had a screw in it, truthfully. I don't think it did, otherwise I would have probably put it back in with the other one. Let me check the other wiring harness just to make sure there's not a screw that I missed, and there is not. Huh. And one thing I did to note about this wiring harness, it seems short to a lot of you because the SIG is a front wired gun. But the reason for that is this wiring harness does come with an extension. That is the reason for that. I'm going to take another bite of Slim Jim. Yummy. Okay. I know there's supposed to be some type of screw for this, and it is in one of the bags of parts somewhere. Is it this one? Did I just miss it in this? I know that I got all the screws, and if I can't find the one that was for it, I know I have one. That's for the motor plate. I'll just get another one. That should fit perfectly. This might actually be the screw that was for it, and I just accidentally put it in with mine. Because this looks perfect for it. So screw that down nice and tight. It's not going to get in the way of that tappet plate anymore. And just to prove that, everything is now dropped in. The cylinder is fully in and set in position. The tappet plate still slides freely. Now sometimes I'll put this system in last and I'll put the gears in first. But with this gearbox and the way it's designed, I probably won't need to do that now. One thing that I probably do need to do is put the tappet spring, at least have it ready to put on, which means I'll need to take this back off. and loop the tappet spring on so that when I'm ready, after the gears are on, I can pull it onto that pin, which will make everything quite a bit easier. So that is all set in place. Still no audio coming out of the headset, which is a good thing, because that would mean it would echo. I don't want that. Okay. That fell out. And you always put the spring in last, from what I've always done. So, that is the old air nozzle. And I know that because it has a notch taken out of it. Now I'm just going to set the gears into, well, I will put the spur and sector gear into place so they can just sit there, and then I will get the anti-reversal latch and put it in. Hopefully it won't try and spring out the bevel gear while it's in, because that always causes a lot of frustration when doing these builds, because whenever a spring is just too tightly wound. Alright, good, it's not too tight. So now we're going to put the trigger piece in. Just have that set up for it. There we go. The trigger always sat extremely close to that sector gear, and I always had a fairly big problem with that, with just how close it sat. Yeah, that is definitely going into the contacts, so that is all good. I'm going to slide this forward for now. Just sort of make it easier to move the tappet spring. I might actually do that now. There we go. And it is pressing up some, but not a lot, so that is a good thing. That'll make everything a lot easier when putting it back together. I'm going to go ahead and put in the piston. Alright. Now, I'm going to grab the new version 3 ball bearing spring guide. I'm pretty sure this is the Matrix one. It's got a lot of ball bearings in it. Even the shaft is set on a ball bearing, so it's a very, very nice spring guide. I have the version 2 set of the same one in most of my guns. So yeah, that is a very nice one. And there's also a ball bearing. It is have a silent ball bearing bore-up piston head on the piston. So that is also a very nice touch. We also put new bushings on it from the originals. They look very similar, but the original ones are solid type, whereas the new ones are a ball bearing sort of type, even though you can't exactly see it because they're so small. But they are there, and it is a bit of an upgrade from the originals. Plus, after so long, you probably do want to upgrade your bushings or bearings, whichever you have, just because they'll tend to be under a lot of stress a lot of the time, especially now that this gun is going to be firing so quickly, and this gun is so old that you want to make sure that it's going to be able to handle that kind of stress. Because we're actually not putting that big of a spring in it, it's only an M120, but that paired with the bore-up kit would normally put you around 420 or 430 FPS on a 0.25 gram, which is it's almost right on the mark for any outdoor field. Indoor field, it is a little hot, but the thing that is going to be lowering that a little bit down to about 410 or so is that short stroke of a piston tooth, because it's adding a lot more FPS air-wise, but it's also being able to cycle a lot faster with the system, which is also why we have the ported cylinder, even though it's a 455 inner barrel that I put together already, the new inner barrel and flat hop system. I did that yesterday. I had recorded it, but the audio turned out really bad. I basically just reviewed all of the parts that had come in, as well as work on the hop up system. But we have the flat hop nub, or the flat hop bucking system, as well as a Modify Hybrid 603 455mm barrel. I love these barrels. I run about 3 of them in 3 different guns of mine, and they are phenomenal. So they are very, very good barrels. Paired with a flat hop system, this gun is going to be extremely accurate, powerful, and fast with the Lonex A1, which is the infinite torque and infinite speed motor. Really, it's just it's a torque motor. I don't exactly see how it could be a high-speed motor. A high-speed motor has almost no torque, and this has quite a bit. I mean, nothing compared to like a Satan 180 G&P motor, but those are meant for DMR builds. This is not a DMR build, but this setup paired with this motor is most likely on a 9.6 volt battery going to be probably shooting around 20 to 21 rounds per second, which is extremely fast. That is all. I get about 25 or 26 on my SCAR, but I run an 11 volt LiPo, 20C or 25C LiPo from Tenergy, it's my Elite cell LiPo, and I'm running a Gate Murph 5.2 MOSFET, and it's only shooting 25 rounds a second, but it's the stock VFC SCAR setup. And if I were to put a different motor in it, I would be getting a lot higher rounds per second. But a 25 for me is it's safe. It doesn't worry me that it's firing too fast to where it'll put wear on the gun, but it is firing fast enough to where it is going to overpower most firepower on the field. Plus, it's also extremely long range, and I can hit about 300 feet away trees. But that's because I've done a lot of work on the hop-up on it. Which I also did to this one, Jacob. I did the same thing to your system as I did to my own. So, this is going to be an extremely powerful build. The only difference is my inner barrel is 10 millimeters longer, so about a centimeter longer of what yours is. Mine's a 469, whereas yours is a 455, or an AK length barrel, really. So now that we have everything set in here, we're pretty much ready to close up the gearbox once the spring is compressed in. I just want to make sure on everything before I do that. I actually am forgetting something. The spring for the trigger. We wouldn't have had a very stiff spring had I not done that. Or had I done what I was about to do. And then I would have seen the spring and realized it and known my error. The spring is always tricky because of the way it's angled and everything. Which also explains why the trigger didn't try and pop out on me earlier. That is actually backwards. The fin is supposed to be facing the other way. And no, it goes the other way. I was right. Just like that. Oh, we almost had quite a problem. That's too, ow. And this is where we get into the frustrations. I need to put that back on so I don't mess up my shimming. This is not going to be a fun situation. Because there's a little slot that I've noticed the spring fits into, which actually makes me think that it goes a different way. So I'm going to try this way. That is now in and working properly. I'm pretty sure. It's not going to be fun trying to fit in. And this is also not going to be a fun spring guide to try and get in this system. And my anti-reversal latch popped out. This is what I was talking about with the overcompressed springs. Now we're going to get into the frustration part of this video. And unlike gaming, I'm not allowed to rage quit. That is a very, very stiff spring. This is going to be difficult without being able to fit it all the way in and without bending the spring. That is a extremely stiff spring, jeez. I mean, compared, like, I'll take them out just real quick. Here's the original spring, and here's the upgraded one. This is a straight inline spring. This isn't a regular pitch spring, meaning it gets more compressed in the middle, and it allows for it to compress easier, but provide more power. But just the length alone, it adds a good inch or so, or inch and a quarter to the length. And the original spring already stuck out quite a bit. So, and with how hard it is to push in, this is not going to be a fun one. Because normally what I would do is the spring guide would have a hole all the way through, and I can push this all the way in so it can sort of guide it into the piston, and it can be a lot easier. I can't do that with this, because if I try and do that with this, we get that motion. So I'm going to see. I know I can't take off that end screw because that's actually holding a bearing onto this whole system. Darn it, I don't like this. Because with the version 2s, you don't have that screw. And I'm desperately trying not to lose anything or have anything pop out on me. Because as soon as I do, I'm not going to be able to fix it with the spring in it. Once the spring is in, I'm going to have to put on the other shell of the gearbox and act fast. Let me That is on. Everything is still on. Those are on. And that is in. Everything is together. Except for something. Something's not fitting right. Why is something not fitting right? Because that spur gear is not set correctly. Tappet's good. I'm going to go ahead and try and screw everything together as much as I can. That screw actually doesn't go there. It goes back here. With this other one back here. The shorter one goes up there, and the shortest one goes up here. Where's my Phillips head? That's a flat head. What did I do with my Phillips? There it is. Just gonna screw it down. Tighten the whole system up. And then check everything to make sure. Because everything seems to be screwing down properly. But it just, when I was clamping it, normally it's supposed to completely snap together. Gears are freely spinning. Cutoff lever is working properly. Trigger seems to be working correctly. Wait, is it? It's... I'm not sure. It's not catching every time. I think it's might be getting jammed. Is that because of the cutoff lever? The cutoff lever is jammed. Now it is going. That's what you want to see. That pushes in. Test the piston. Piston properly works and glides. Very good. I'm actually going to spray just a little bit in the port, as well as try and get some silicone oil on all of these bearings. I'm just going to spray a little bit on my finger and rub the bearing a little bit, both sides. That is functioning properly. Semi, normally you're not supposed to get that kind of click on semi, but full auto is working very well. Semi, it almost has like a trigger brake in it, if you can see that. Like, I'll be pushing with the same amount of pressure, it's like it stops it and then continues it. I'm not sure if that's normal for a version 3 gearbox, but all of the gears are freely spinning. I actually just compressed the piston a little bit, so I'm going to see if I can grab that anti-reverse lever, which I can. Good. That releases the piston all the way forward, which is what we want. It is right now in Oh, there we go. Now it's in semi and it's not doing that thing, so that's good. It's not clicking anymore. I guess whatever it was catching on, it fixed itself. Sometimes that happens, and it's a good thing when it does. I need to put this screw back in. So that is now on. We will replace the top metal piece. There we go. That hurt a little bit. There. That is now all together. We're going to replace the motor cage, or the motor plate, rather. The thing that I actually really do not like the system for this. And I wonder if I could almost put a shim where it won't wobble anymore, if it'll fit. I would like that, to be able to do that. I'll just see if I can put it right there. Yeah, that should work. I'm also going to put one on the underneath side so it still remains even. These are all the same size shims. They're all like 0.02 thickness. I'm doing this because the cage, when I put it on, always seems to wobble, and I'm trying to minimalize that. With these shims, so there's virtually no wobble in the motor itself, and it is quite a tight fit with those shims on it. Which is, like I said, a good thing. There it went. And as long as this won't wobble, no pinion, or since I've already shimmed the bevel to the pinion gear, there should not be any wobble or wear in the gear themselves. So now that these are tightened down, that is completely solid. And because this is also where the motor screws in, that means the actual motor, or the grip, is going to feel a lot more solid on the gun. It's not going to be loose at all. It is going to be nice and solid on this, which the motor might actually be how this got loose in the first place, just wobbling it, but this is now a lot tighter, and it's placed with a shim so that it cannot wobble. I'm going to replace this piece. This basically just covers up the sector gear so the trigger does not hit it. There we go. That is now on there. Now to replace all the itty bitty bits and pieces. That is a bit of a pain in my side. That is upside down. That is what I want. Because that would be safety. And safety is a good thing. Let's see, this goes on there just like that. No, like that. Yeah. And it's upside down. Or is because it would go, it would fit like that. There we go. That's how I wanted. So it fit just like that, and I put this thing together so I could remember, and I already forgot once again because I'm dumb. But then this on there, this, then I'm pretty sure that goes on the other side. Pretty sure. Because these are set in there like that. And then the screw. Okay, that is now on. Good. That is still there. Now to get into the second bag, which is what I'm going to start calling the I hate this job bag. This is a lot of pieces, and they're all proprietary. So now it is going to be my job to figure out where all of these proprietary parts go. I know for a fact that is a body pin, so I won't need that immediately. And then I get to start dealing with all of this stuff. Alright, and I already know that goes on the other side. This goes right here. And it meshes just like that. So it is on that line with that line. And it would go just like that. Because that would be safe, that would be probably semi, and that would be full. That is what that is for. So I'm just going to set it to where they're nice and lined up. And it is on safety, so you can't pull the trigger. The other one goes in on the other side. You do actually need to put in these selector plates, so any of the loose pieces I'm just going to remove for now. Otherwise they're just going to fall out. And if I remember correctly, it goes just like this. Yeah. Just gotta make sure it's properly lined up. This might be a little tricky. That shouldn't be too bad. Or it might be extremely bad. I don't know. I'm going to put these in first. Shouldn't have taken this thing off. I took it off for no reason. I really have no clue why I took that piece off. There we go. Slides freely. very good. I'm going to put that spring back in. Supposed to be a little bit more loose than that. I'm pretty much having to force that back. Which it's supposed to do freely, which means something might be a little too tight. Seeing if I do it for a little bit, if it tends to loosen up. Because that would be the difference between a semi and full auto. And being stuck on full auto wouldn't be too bad. But if there's an option, normally you don't want to have to choose. Especially if it's not a broken gun. There's been plenty of times where I've had to remove the cutoff lever completely just because it was causing so many problems. It feels like it's loosening up, but to actually fully get back into place, it just feels like it's a little too tight, and that might be because of the new trigger assembly. So I'm just trying to look and see where it's rubbing, if I can tell. Yeah, it's definitely... Oh! I got stuck again. It had loosened up a little bit, and then it went back to being stiff. So I might need to just do this for a little bit, just to try and just make sure all the systems are working properly. I'm sure with a stiffer spring for the selector plate, it would probably do a little better. But I don't think I have a spring that is beefy enough. Well, I might. I'll try it and at least see. Is this right? I know this one is a very weak spring. This one might actually be a little too big. Oh wait, that's a hop-up spring. I don't want to use that. Yeah, here we go. This is a very stiff spring. And I'm pretty sure I took this out of another one of my guns. This one's going to be a little tricky actually getting in here. Don't lose that. Ugh. hopefully it's a thin enough or small enough diameter. There it went. Now let's try it. Oh yeah, much better. That selector is going to be a lot stiffer to try and turn, but it is definitely going to function properly. Now for some of you other guys who are watching this, as a tech, I would not probably recommend using a spring this stiff unless you're using it for a version 3. But the best I can compare the actual strength to is a very high quality like push pin spring. The ones that are up in the front. That's the best thing I can compare the strength of the spring to. So hopefully that shouldn't be a problem with this one. It's just going to make actually swap from going to safe to semi. It won't be too stiff, but going from semi to full auto, it is going to be a very, very stiff selector, which is sometimes a pretty good thing because that way it doesn't get loose and try and swap on you. So it can be a plus or a negative depending on how you look at it. Now I get to start looking at all of this stuff, and I'm already seeing a part that I actually... Oh wait, now I remember it. This just goes up here. I'm pretty sure. No, this is something that goes on the external of the body. That is a heavy receiver. I'm actually really glad this receiver is full metal. You just don't see that too much. There's like barely any magazine release. I wonder if that could be repaired to where there's a lot more of an actual push. It can't go in anymore, which I already have a problem with, but just... Well, I guess that would release any kind of mag. Just to run a test, I've got a normal high cap here. Yeah, it catches it, but it also pulls it out pretty easily as well. It doesn't lock it down very well is what I'm saying. Like I can pull it out without touching the button. That's not always a good thing. But on the plus side, hitting the button does freely drop the mag. I just wish it had a better latch than it does. And I don't know where you can find a replacement or an upgraded magazine release or anything like that, because I'm sure any aftermarket ones would be a little better. This one's probably just been worn down after so much use. But I don't know where you can find a replacement SIG magazine release. I have not seen any of them. Need to figure out where this goes. Let's see. I have a feeling it's somewhere obvious and I'm just not looking at it. Odds are it probably goes over. And it has... Wait a second. That's right, because I did this. It goes in there because it goes in there like that. But then how does it actually attach to the plate? I don't think I ever figured that out. Other than maybe being pressed fitted in from this thing. which is a possibility. I just don't like it. This thing is not going to be fun putting it back in. So I'm going to go ahead, stick that on, or I'll set it before I do anything. So it's supposed to be on that gear for safety. And then if I just knock something into my floor, which I did not want to do. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to go like that. Or not. There's a piece that goes in, and I think I've looked at it now 4 or 5 times, and I just never realized it. But that hole has something to do with it. Let's see, where does this sit? This sits in there. Or no, it's on this. Which side does this thing go on? It's supposed to be the bolt release button, or just the look-alike button. Is it? No, it definitely is. That is exactly what it is. And I just dropped another piece. Alright. I'm actually getting pretty tired. So, we got the gearbox together. That's all good. I'm actually probably gonna, when I wake up tomorrow, I'll probably test fire it just to make sure. I'll put the grip on it and test it with the motor. So gonna do that. Fit this on there just so you can have an idea. Alright, that's pretty good for tonight. Gearbox together. All the new parts are in, except for the motor right now, which goes in. Motor, grip, thing. So I'm pretty tired. I think that's going to do it for me tonight. But if you guys are watching and enjoy the video and it proved to be fairly helpful, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or private message me on YouTube. But thank you guys for watching. Jacob, hopefully I'll have this done tomorrow, and I will record it. Hopefully it doesn't take me as long to start recording. I'm hoping I can do it in the afternoon. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for me today. So I'll see you guys next time.